Hello students, welcome to ShirtBack Academy. In our coding lesson today, we're going to begin Module 3, Conditionals. In this lesson, we're going to be doing Section 3.1, If Else with B. Let's begin. For this lesson, we're going to need to access the code.org homepage. When we're there, we're going to click on Learn in the top left corner. We're going to go down and click on Learn More in grades K to 5. On the next page, we're going to scroll down and click on Course D. And today in Course D, we're going to be doing Puzzle 11, If Else with B. Once we're there, we're going to click on the number 1 and we're going to watch our intro video.
This is a conditional block. The code inside a conditional block runs if a condition is true. In puzzles with conditionals, we might want to check a condition like if path ahead. This code will only move forward if there is a path ahead. You can use conditionals in lots of different ways, like this or this.
So let's click on Continue, go to Puzzle 2, and get coding. Here in our first puzzle, we have a multiple choice. It says the cloud is blocking our view. There could be a flower under the cloud. If there is a flower, the bee will need to collect nectar one time. If there is not a flower, the bee should do nothing. Let's take a look at the code below. Down in our workspace, we have a when run, and we have a repeat 3 times that says move forward. Outside of that, we have our first if command. Our if statement says if we're at the flower, we should get nectar. When we trace our path for the bee, we see that there are 3 blocks. That matches up with the 3 move forwards. We also have our if that if there's a flower there, that the bee should get the nectar. Our answer choices are A, the bee will move to the cloud and try to get nectar no matter what. B, the bee will move to the cloud and only try to get nectar if there's a flower. Or C, the bee will do nothing at the cloud. I'm going to choose answer choice B. I think the bee will go to the cloud and get nectar if there's a flower. We're going to go over here and click Run. We could see that our bee went forward 3 times, there was a flower, and they got the nectar. We were right. Good job. Let's click Continue and move on to Puzzle 3. Here in Puzzle 3, our instructions tell us that we must check underneath each cloud to see if there is a flower underneath. If there is a flower under the cloud, we want to get the nectar. Let's trace the path for the bee to get to the clouds. The first part of our code, we're going to bring over a repeat, put a move forward in it, and set it to 2 times. That will take care of the first part of the bee's path. At the corner, the bee is going to have to turn right. We're going to hit Run, and we see our code works well so far. But we need to finish up and make sure we get to the flowers. We're going to bring over another repeat, and inside we're going to put a move forward. We're going to set this equal to 2 times because there are 2 blocks left in the path. But now we're going to add an if statement. We're going to bring over our if, and we set it equal to if at flower. If there is a flower, we want the bee to get nectar. Let's click Run and see how we do. This time we do, and our bee got the nectar. Great job. Our if statement worked. Let's click on Continue and move on to Puzzle 4. Here in Puzzle 4, our instructions are telling us that we can only collect nectar from flowers. We need to check under each cloud to see if there is a flower. Let's trace the path for the bee and see how many blocks we have. I counted 7. I'm going to bring over a repeat and set it equal to 7. Inside, I'm going to put a move forward. Now we're going to add our if statement. We're going to bring over our if command, and inside, if we see a flower, we're going to get nectar. Let's check our code, and we're going to hit run. We can see our loop is working. And when we got to the flowers at the end, we got the nectar. Great job. Here in puzzle 5, our instructions are telling us that we know that every flower has exactly one nectar, but the flowers are not spaced evenly. Let's get the nectar using as few blocks as we can. Let's trace the path first for the bee. I counted 7 blocks. We're going to start our code by bringing over a repeat. We're going to put a move forward inside and set it equal to 7 times. That's 1 for each block in the path. Now we're going to bring over our if statement. Inside our if, we're going to connect a get nectar. Each time the bee comes to a flower, we want him to get the nectar there. Check our code one last time and click run. Great job. You could see that the bee got nectar only when there was a flower. Let's click continue and move on to puzzle 6. Here in puzzle 6, it's asking us to collect all the nectar using as few blocks as possible. Let's trace the path. In the first part of the path, I counted 6 blocks. I'm going to bring over a repeat and set it equal to 6. Inside, we'll put a move forward. Now we're going to add our if, just like we did in our previous 2 puzzles, where if we're at the flower, we're going to get nectar. When we hit run, we see that our code works for the first path. From here, our bee needs to turn left. Then he's going to move forward 2 times and turn left again. That will take care of the short side of the path. When we hit reset and run, we can see that we're in a good shape. From here, we could do another repeat like we did at the top. But now we're going to remember a trick from our Module 2, a nested loop. We're going to take our existing code and slide it over. We know that we can use the same code for the last part of the path. We're going to bring over another loop and set it to 2. And we're going to make a nested loop by putting our first loop inside. Now what will happen is that our code will repeat 6 times twice. Let's take a look at our code and make sure it's all connected. We're going to hit reset and run. We can see that our nested loop runs a second time, and we're able to complete the puzzle. Great job! That was tricky. You did well remembering nested loops. Let's click continue and move on to puzzle 7. Here in puzzle 7, our instructions are adding a new wrinkle. It's saying some of the clouds might have honeycomb under them. We need to make sure that we check if a honeycomb is hiding under each cloud. When we trace the path, we see that the first part, the bee must go 2 blocks. We'll bring over a repeat and a move forward. Now we're going to bring over our if. The if statement this time, instead of having nectar, now we have honeycomb. Inside, we're going to put the command make honey. Now we see at the corner, our bee must turn left. When we hit run, we see our code works okay. There was no honeycomb at the first cloud. But now let's finish our code. is we're going to put our code again inside a nested loop. Just like we did in the last puzzle, we're going to nest our code inside. We're going to make the outer loop set equal to 2, and then we're going to run our code. We see we're able to get the honeycomb, and our code worked great. Well done! Now we have another video here in Puzzle 8. We're going to add another level onto the if statements by learning about if-else.
This is a conditional block. The code inside a conditional block runs if a condition is true. In puzzles with conditionals, we might want to check a condition like if path ahead. This code will only move forward if there is a path ahead. You can use conditionals in lots of different ways, like this or this. What if you want something else to happen if a condition is false? You can use an if-else block for that. This code will move forward if there is a path ahead. Otherwise, it will turn left. Your code will either move forward or turn left, but never both. This is helpful if you want your code to make decisions based on certain conditions. Here are some more ways you can use conditionals in if-else blocks.
Here in level 9, our instructions are telling us that now the cloud can cover a flower or a honeycomb. We're going to use an if-else block to collect nectar if it's a flower or honey if it's a honeycomb. Let's trace our path for the bee. We see that the bee has to go 2 blocks before we get to the cloud. We're going to bring over a repeat, set it equal to 2, and put a move forward inside. That will take care of the bee getting to the cloud. Now we're going to use our first if-else statement. Now let's click run and see how we do. The bee gets to the flower and he gets his nectar. Our if-else worked. Let's click continue and move on to puzzle 10. Here in puzzle 10 we have a multiple choice. It's asking us to look carefully at the code below. What do we think will happen after we click run? Remember, there will only be one honeycomb or one flower behind each cloud. When we trace the path for the bee, we see there are 3 blocks. So he must move forward 3 times. Our code has a repeat set to 3. Inside the repeat is an if-else. It says if there's a flower, the bee should get nectar, otherwise make honey. What do you think will happen? Our answer choices: A, the bee will get nectar at each flower and honey at each honeycomb. B, will try to get nectar from both flowers and honeycomb. Or C, will try to get honey from both flowers and honeycomb. I'm going to choose answer choice A. In the code we have an if-else. If there's a flower, they'll get nectar, otherwise they'll make honey. Let's click run and see what happens. We can see the bee was able to get both. The if-else statement allowed the bee to get nectar at a flower and honeycomb at the hive. Alright, here in puzzle 11 we have our challenge puzzle. These are designed to stretch our brains. Let's see how we do. Here in our puzzle we see a square pattern. Let's trace the path. We can see in the first leg the bee must go 3 blocks and each side is the same. Every time there's a cloud, if there's a flower, we must collect nectar, otherwise make honey. The first thing we're going to do is bring over a repeat and set it equal to 3. Inside, we're going to connect a move forward. This will take care of the bee moving along the first side of the path. Now we're going to connect an if-else, and inside put a get nectar and make honey. We're going to add right after that a turn right, because at the corner, that's the way the bee must turn. Let's check our code one last time. We have our repeat 3 times, our if-else statement, and a turn right. We can see that our code works well so far. You should see the pattern in the code. We're going to hit reset, and now what we're going to do is we could recreate the code 3 more times. But you should remember one of our coding skills we've already done, nested loops. We're going to take our entire code and slide it over. We're going to bring over another repeat loop and nest it inside. But this time, for our outer loop, we're going to set it equal to 4. We have 4 sides of the square path. We need to repeat 4 times. Let's make sure our code is connected, and now we will hit run. We get the honey, the nectar, and the honey and the nectar. Great job. That challenge puzzle was tricky. You did really well with that. 2 more puzzles. Let's finish strong. Here in puzzle 12, it's asking us to collect all of the nectar or make all of the honey. There will only be 1 flower or 1 honeycomb behind each cloud. When we trace the path, I counted 7 blocks. We're going to create a repeat loop, set it equal to 7, and connect a move forward. Now we're going to bring over our if-else statement. We're going to put it inside because we have a cloud at each block. If we see a flower, we're going to get nectar, else we'll make honey. Let's make sure our code is connected. We can see whether nectar or honey, our bee is able to get it done. Great job. You really did well with the nested loop. Let's click continue and move on to our last puzzle. Here in the last puzzle, our instructions are asking us to collect all the nectar and make all the honey. Let's trace our path. I counted 7 blocks. I'm going to bring over a repeat and set it equal to 7 times. I'm going to connect and move forward inside. We see we have either honey or flower at each block. We're going to bring over our if-else and put it inside. Because there's a flower or honey at each block, we can use the repeat. This time we're going to change it up, and instead of being at the flower, we're going to say if we're at the honeycomb, let's make honey. And this time, in the else, we're going to put get nectar. What we've done is we've just changed the settings of the if-else. You can see how we can get some flexibility. Let's double check our code, make sure it's all connected, and hit run. Great job, everybody. Congratulations! We've now completed if-else with B. If you have any questions about any part of this lesson, please find the appropriate time point in the video. We thank you for following along, and we'll see you in the next lesson, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and keep coding.